and then also we give them the tools required, because you don't only look at the number, but then you look at the facilities that they need to do the work. This is available. We give them the welfare they needed. They had a good breakfast. And so we know this is what we need to do. And then the boys and the men are, women are also very active and motivated enough to be on the farm of His Excellency and our Commander-in-Chief. So I think this is the pride that any service personnel or member can feel proud of.
Definitely.
But it is the sense of unity displayed by members of this force that thrilled Lieutenant Colonel Solo Bojang.
This is a signal that is given to the Gambian people that every Gambian has to be like the armed and security service of this country. We are so cooperated, so much so that definitely it's very difficult, Abdullah. Just as I said, it's very difficult to identify only who is who. You only have to look at the uniform and then you know this is police, this is the army, or this is immigration. Other than that, you will never be able to identify, because we have that cooperation in us. And the motive behind all is discipline. There is 100% discipline in the armed and security service of this country.
The harvesting in Kanilai is at an advanced stage. The police recruit has stayed overnight to help pile the harvest, slowly taking the form of a mountain, and not in less than 3 to 4 of these heaps will end up racing towards the sky at the end of the day. Abdunjai, GRTS.
Officials of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation are the latest to come face to face with lawmakers who took time to scrutinize the corporation's annual report and financial statements. Angie Amisise reports the interface between the lawmakers and officials of Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation touched on various facets of the corporation's operations.
After being deferred to a later date for not meeting the requirements of the PAC and PEC committees of the National Assembly, the management team and Director General of the National Center for Arts and Culture reappeared before parliamentarians to get their accounts and activity reports scrutinized for adoption.
The administrative structure accommodates all the ramifications of our arts and culture, as well as contemporary concerns in this area. However, its effectiveness is compromised by inadequate staffing in terms of both numbers and qualifications. For instance, the Department of Literature, Performing and Fine Arts has only 2 staff at its disposal. These staff have not necessarily received formal training in all the disciplines under their purview.
With quite a few number of vacancies at senior positions of the center, the level of input needed is compromised. According to the Director General, reviving Gambian culture as part of their mandate faces a number of setbacks before parliamentarians came in with their interventions.
If you read their report, had undergone a very serious financial constraint as such. Almost all their senior positions are vacant. Now, how soon are you planning to fill these senior and junior positions, as they are very important in your human resource management? Example, Directorate of Heritage, Culture and Heritage. Director is vacant. 2 of the directors are vacant. Accountant is vacant.
We related that to the projection of UNESCO, saying that in 50 years to come, 50 languages will disappear. I'm asking you, what effort are you doing in order, to preserve our Gambian languages?
I want to know what protection plan do you have for our local cultural troops?
I said here something 3 years ago, and it is still in the same position. I said here that in the 60s and the early 70s, the issue came up when we talked about foreign artists who draw more crowd than our local artists by virtue of their popularity, ability, etc. But of course they are flanked by our artists, but we cannot continue being second best forever. I mean, we are a nation. We have signed a lot of bilateral agreements with Cuba. They have the biggest music industry in the whole world.
The director came in with a marathon speech giving clarity and heeding to some of their recommendations.
We don't have the resources, neither manpower or physical or material equipment resources. We are just constrained. We are just constrained, and that's why I appreciate his recommendation that perhaps we should develop some activity plan in which we will focus on certain things and do them well, and then move on to others. I take good note of that.
National Council for Arts and Culture, this being its second appearance before the Park and Pec committees, had their accounts adopted even as they have not complied fully with the procurement regulations of the Gambia. For Grts News, I am Ajami Sise.
We do apologize for bringing a wrong report, and we'll continue the news following an earlier press release in September 2012 on the decision to impose a ban on the re-export of wood from the Gambia. Government has decided to lift the ban temporarily with immediate effect. A media dispatch from State House states that the decision follows numerous appeals from the Association of Wood Re-Exporters and other stakeholders to allow them to export their stock of wood already on the ground. Many of these businessmen invested heavily in the re-exportation of wood when government earlier allowed for re-export to continue. In this regard, the government of the Gambia has decided to lift the ban on the re-export of wood with immediate effect, to last until the 31st of December 2012. This will allow traders to sell off their stocks. All wood re-exporters are strictly warned not to fell down new trees. The Department of Forestry Operation, Bulldozer, and other security agencies, the release adds, will be closely monitoring these activities, and anyone found wanting will face the full force of the law. Over 200 meters of severed Gamtel aerial cables have temporarily halted communication in a major locality in Bundung Bohol. Residents of the affected neighborhood are complaining of ineffectual telephones that have since ceased functioning. Ebrima Jatta reports police may be getting to the root of the problem after arresting a suspected cable poacher.
Severed aerial cables belonging to Gamtel. Officials say over 50 households around this area would be losing communication unless this damage is replaced. Now police have a suspect in their hand, but the question here is, could this have been the work of a single person?
It couldn't have been the work of one person, because these cables are up there. I mean, you cannot climb there and cut them yourself. Solely we believe it's the work of more than one person, and Chernobyl is currently helping the police in investigations.
Chernobyl is the alleged suspect being questioned by investigators at the Bundung Bohol police station, where he was brought after his arrest in the early hours of the morning.
The use of effective community policing. For long, the residents of these areas have experienced Gamtel cables being cut.
But this is not the first time.
It's not the first. It's not the first. And we've been wondering who has been doing this. But because of effective community policing, we had people who had been going around keeping an eye on who could be doing this. Unfortunately for us, yesterday in the early hours of, this morning in the early hours of 5 a.m., somebody called a police officer in the person of Sambujang and informed him that he has seen people doing this very heinous act. So the police responded quickly, and they came to find Chernobyl with over 32 meters of these Gamtel cables cut just to go and sell and make little money from, and deprive over 50 households of Gamtel services.
This is really more than the envisaged damage caused. The side of a whole road connection slashed and deliberately messed up just a few meters from the point where police picked up their first and only suspect indicates the extensive measure of cable rustling that has been happening here. With over 50 homes affected, police are calling for urgent community interventions to allay the growing issue. Imam Tijan Salah lives only some meters away from a severely affected telephone connection with heavily sliced cables. I suddenly lost communication, which I couldn't figure out because I've always had efficient landlines. Now, all of a sudden, I couldn't receive or make calls. It's a major setback, which we believe is caused by Gamtel cables being cut everywhere. Imam Tijan Salah lamented and emphasized that communities have to take ownership of these facilities. We understand that the police cannot be in every place at once. This is why all of us have to be our own police to maintain these important resources, Salah told the state broadcaster.
I wouldn't want our viewers to underestimate the extent of damage made here. What we have in